Our discussion this morning will feature the ongoing demolition exercise being undertaken by the Kano State government. The NNPP government, led by Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf, during the campaign promised to lead a process of restoring the Kano master plan if it won the election. It accused the immediate past administration of tampering with the Kano master plan. So the new government rolled out bulldozers to begin the demolition of what is described as illegal structure. However, this exercise is not going down well with the residents of the affected areas. We have in the studio in Kano, the Executive Chairman of Kano State Public Compliance Commission, Barrister Mohammed Mui Rimin Gadao. Barrister, it's a pleasure to have you join us this morning. Barrister Mohammed is also the Chairman of the Kano State Anti-Corruption Commission. We made efforts to get some of the affected persons by this exercise for this program, but they were evasive and did not want to appear on camera. However, here is a report earlier sent by our correspondent Idris Jibrin.
Saminu Shehu is a Kano-based businessman who recently moved into his multi-million naira penthouse. Marked for demolition, Saminu is now working hard to remove his belongings, even though he has all the necessary government-issued documents.
We are not
the first allotee. We bought it from the people who initially got the land, and we paid all the necessary dues. In fact, we went to Kanubda, we paid their money, we paid the state government on. Everything has been paid, and we've done it in accordance with the law. So our land is legally obtained, and we have already built our houses here. Kano state government has recently revealed that nearly 70% of these estate is owned or illegally sold by the wife of the former governor and her children. A statement challenged by these people.
If the state governor says 70% of the houses here are owned by Gogo and her children, why won't the governor investigate and then take over the 70% belonging to Gogo and leave the rest? But if he continued to destroy these houses, believing that 70% are owned by Gogo, then what happens to the remaining 30%? I think the governor needs to investigate.
According to these people, despite obtaining all the necessary documents from the State Urban Planning and Development Authority, officials of the state government are violating their human rights in an attempt to force them out of their houses.
There is absolutely violation of Human Rights Act because some of the residents here with their family have been beaten, have been damaged by civil defense. They came with it because police are not involved now in the operation because they have an order from their Inspector General of Police that they should not involve themselves unless there is court jurisdiction, which they are not obtaining any jurisdiction before they demolish any place in Kano State. So they used to come with talks, political talks and civil defense. So yesterday they came with civil defense and political talks, which you can see on social media trending. They have beaten one of the residents here. They beaten his pregnant wife yesterday. She has been admitted in hospital yesterday.
While the demolition exercise continues across many parts of the state, these people are hopeful that the Kano state government will take them to court in order to figure out the truth about the legality of their properties. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
One of many reports that has been covered by Idris Jibrin on this particular hot potato topic in Kano. Well, let's segue right into the issues and unpack it with our guest, Barrister Mohammed Mui Rimingado, who is joining us for this conversation from our Kano studio. Barrister, good morning once again. First and foremost, explain to the people that you've heard in the report there and anyone else who is concerned about this, why this move is the best for Kano State.
Good morning and thank you for having me. And first of all, let me correct the impression that there is a demolition that is going on in Kano. Because as far as the government is concerned, there is a removal of illegal structures erected in the public buildings in Kano State. That is one.
How do you
Number two, as you rightly pointed out in your report.
Barrister, how do you remove buildings exactly?
So it can be through demolition, so to say, but let me tell you, the whole concept of the program,
so there are demolitions ongoing in Kano, right?
Yes, there are certain removal of illegal structures that are erected in public places. And you are like you rightly said during your report, the governor during his campaign made it known to the public that this exercise will eventually take place whenever he's being elected into the power. And I think that is the essence of him coming to power, because many people in Kano said were aggrieved because of this kind of illegal structure erected in schools, in the place of worship, markets, and what have you. So the whole exercise is for public good anyway. Okay. So as far as I'm concerned, and that's what.
Okay, just for clarity, what makes a structure, a building, illegal?
Well, history is always the best starting point. Now, like I told you earlier, like if we can take, for instance, the issue of Dollar Hotel. It is an edifice, an existing structure in Kano, whereby it is an old hotel that everybody knows that to be very famous and well established. The previous administration connived with some people and now destroyed the entire structure. At that time, nobody complained. For anybody that knows Kano, and for anybody that knows the edifice in Triumph Publishing Company, it is a well established building that was destroyed by these people, and nobody complains simply because it's a public structure. We have courts established in markets. At least the rationale of establishing courts in the market is to the fact that the markets are a place of dispute, and that is why we have courts in the markets. But some people who happens to be saddled with responsibilities of managing the public affairs decided to destroy that court and demolish them and erect a selfish and private structure in that premises. Then we have schools like Kano Polytechnic, whereby residential buildings were erected inside the school, within the perimeter fence of the school. Then go to Trinity Primary School, for instance. Many structures were erected, and these are private structures.
I feel like you're going around without actually answering the question. What makes a structure illegal, especially if it's by an act of a legal government? What makes that structure illegal? That's the question.
You know, an act of a government can be illegal if it is done ultra by the power that established the government. Yes, the governor may have the power to under the Land Use Act to allocate land, but I don't see any reason, or I don't have any law. I don't know any of any law that empowers the governor to destroy public structure for private or personal gain.
But that's
that's what makes it illegal.
Right.
And
Barrister, we would like to get, the public is really interested in getting some education about what is happening, especially because this is viewed more like this government carrying out its own personal vendetta against people it perceives have been favored by the previous government. What would, if you have a structure in a place and describe it as illegal, does it make economic sense to destroy that structure with public funds and erect another structure with public funds just to serve the same purpose? Why would you rather not, as a lawyer, why would you rather not approach the court and get people to forfeit that structure and simply change the use than deploying government resources to cause what appears to be a monumental economic destruction to the people of the state?
Please try to understand what I'm trying to point out here. Like now, you have a hotel that was transformed to be a hospitality school, which is more or less in the hotel line. Now it was destroyed, and now it was destroyed completely, and the land was converted to build a shops. You have a court. They built shop in the court. How can you transform shop to court? So you have to remove that shop, and for you to reconstruct court is a monumental economic loss. But unfortunately, that is the only way to go about it.
All right.
You cannot transform, like now you remove.
have you considered as a lawyer the place of dialogue and negotiation? Because at the end of the day, what does appear to so many onlookers and people who are not from Kano is that two elephants are fighting and the grass is being led to suffer. The individuals who had rented those shops, who had put their hard-earned money into rents because they believed that whatever had brought those structures to place were legal action of a legal government. Have you sat down in a way to make these people understand or even work out anything to ameliorate the kind of suffering that this action would further throw these innocent citizens into? Has this government taken this into account in all of this action?
Well, I am not a spokesman of the government. I'm the head of an anti-corruption agency that is an independent organization. But based on my involvement during the transition period, which I know as a fact that we have made a due diligence in terms of investigating the matter in total, I know as a fact that majority of these shops were not even occupied. You remember during the transition period, when we now realize that these people are in a rush to complete these structures, which they know is illegal, the governor issued a public notice, that is a public advisory notice, that anybody that is building in public places shall desist from doing that. Well, the reaction that time was a negative one. The government was not happy. The government of the day was not happy for somebody who is an incoming governor to come out and advise them properly. So now what is happening is for the government to remove the illegal structures erected in public places, because it's supposed to be the other way around. You can sacrifice, or the government can take over private property to build public utilities, but not public utilities destroyed to build private properties. So as far as I'm concerned, the government is doing the right thing, and I think that is the best way to go about it.
Okay. Talking about the Land Use Act, we are well aware of how the governor is mandated to make certain decisions. It provides that the governor shall have the right to grant statutory right of occupancy to any person on lands, for instance. So perhaps what Governor Ganduje has done is well within his right as a governor who is exercising his duty. But beyond that, you did talk about how the Abba administration, even before winning the election, during the campaigns, was warning people and warning the Ganduje administration, don't do this, don't do that, which is an aberration in and of itself, because when you are campaigning as a candidate, you're not yet in power and you don't have the right to make certain utterances. But that was made, and we all understand how tense the political situation in Kano is. But the question is, how do you explain what is happening in Salanta Housing Estate, for instance? Because I understand it's a housing estate, and in our report, Idris has spoken to several individuals who have legal documents that show that they follow due process to acquire those land. How do you expect these individuals to now come to terms with the fact that this administration is saying everything, regardless of how legal the document is, doesn't matter? Doesn't this set a dangerous precedent that the next administration that comes in could say, listen, what the Abba administration did was also illegal, so we don't like it. This snowballs and turns Kano State into something else. Don't you think that is another way to look at this situation?
First of all, there's a difference between land and building. We are talking of public utilities. Even if it is a land that is paid by the government and that something is taking place for public goods, you can never describe that place to be a land that falls within the contemplation of Land Use Act. Secondly, on the issue of Salanta, it is not a housing estate. Nobody, in fact, you can go there and verify by yourself. I don't believe Idris Jibrin, a reporter in Kano, will tell you that Salanta is a housing estate. It is a building within the perimeter of Kano State Polytechnic. I live in Salanta. I know Salanta. So what I'm telling you is there's federal housing estate in Salanta, which federal housing estate is not affected by anybody's demolition. And apart from the federal housing estate in Salanta, the area which I live is a layout established by the government. I think it was military government. it has not been affected. Where it's been affected and marked for removal of illegal structures is within the perimeter fence of Kano Polytechnic. I don't know of any sane person that will encourage somebody simply because he has the power to go and carve out plots within the perimeter fence of a school, an existing school. We have school Kano Islamic School of Islamic Legal Studies. We have School of Management Studies, and we have Central Administration of Kano State Polytechnic, all in one place. And out of these three places, the previous administration carved out plots, 126 plots, and allocated to family members. I have seen the name of the wife of the governor and 3 children of the governor, and all the people that were allocated to the land are all prominent individuals that transfer the title, or rather the title, or the paper, so to say, to somebody who gave them money, virtually most often in cash, and just spend it. So as far as we are concerned, there are 2 issues in this. Number 1, the people that purchased that place were because under the land use laws, we have, you can only be a bona fide purchaser for value without notice. Because if you have notice, then certainly you cannot come and claim that, at least that you cannot claim the title when it was obvious to you that title did not belong to you. Anybody that purchases that land, have a notice and constructive notice that place belongs to Kano State Polytechnic, and any government that comes after the government that decided to go, because as far as I'm concerned, this is monumental corruption. Okay. Because if no corruption, nothing will just ask or motivate somebody to go and...
Barrister, point taken. You did say this is monumental corruption in your view, and you are heading an anti-corruption commission, right?
Yes.
Okay. You did talk about the governor's wife, and she was mentioned in that report filed by Idris Jibrin. Are you going after the people who perpetrated this illegal act in your view? Are you going after them?
Certainly. What the government is doing in terms of removing the illegal structure is a different issue. What we are going to do in terms of the criminal aspect of the whole thing is another thing. Let me give you another example of Dollar Hotel. The Dollar Hotel was said to be leased through private partnership, public-private partnership, PPP. The state government was said to own 25% share equity out of it, while the investor, the so-called investor, will take 75%. But when we now extend such to unveil those behind the company, we now notice that the company was registered and incorporated in 2018. And in that 2018, it was allocated land, or rather it was allocated the Kano State asphalt plant along Doakintopa Road, which is estimated to cost almost 2 billion naira, free of charge, without any public-private partnership. And it was allotted a lot of plots of lands belonging to Kano State that the company just was given free of charge. So when we extended our search to know those behind the company, we found out that the person that is responsible for carving out these plots, who is a managing director of Kano Environmental Planning and Protection Agency, which is the son-in-law to the immediate past governor, was the first director of that company, and he was the person that certified the contracts. So all this are something another issue that come to play when the commission started its prosecution proper.
All right. You have mentioned quite a number of people and names. Unfortunately, they are not here to respond to some of the allegations or provide their own side of the argument. So it remains in the realms of allegation. I'm saying this so that we do not expose ourselves to the vagaries of using this.
As a caveat, I understand.
Thank you very much. As a lawyer, I made a point earlier, which is what I am coming to. At the end of the day, regardless of how this conversation is shaped, it is the ordinary Kano citizens that are bearing the brunt. People who rented shops without understanding the complexities that you have explained on live television. Where is the human face of this government with regards to ameliorating the suffering? Because For some persons, that is their entire life saving that had gone down in minutes under a bulldozer. Is it just enough to send out the bulldozers? After the bulldozer, what next for the average Kano citizen that has been caught in this crossfire?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I know as a fact that the government is taking into consideration all these issues that you have raised, and I believe the government will come up with initiative that will at least the innocent ones, because there are some people that have colluded with those people who were accused to perpetrate these evils. Those people, they're supposed to be part of they are part of the problem, and they cannot be part of the solution. But for the innocent ones who were confirmed to be innocent, I believe the government will come up with something that will eliminate their suffering. If at all we find out.
All right. Moving on. We've talked about structures that were erected in places where they shouldn't be. You talked about the cult. You talked about the ones belonging to the Kano State Polytechnic. We overheard sometimes in a media interview, the one-time former Governor Konkoso also mentioning how the Eid ground that has been there for years, the adjoining environment also sold that. He mentioned quite a number of things. But away from those public buildings, we also saw monuments going down. As a matter of fact, the moment those monuments were touched, it even elicited more outcry, because some supporters of the government will understand what you are saying. But when it came to the monument, what kind of arguments did you put out to justify things that were built to beautify the city and give it some level of aesthetics also going down? Was it, how do you justify those? You know, with some of the allegations we have seen online as some of those monuments bearing symbols that are offensive and all of that. What do you have to say to that?
Well, like what I told you in the beginning of this program is that I am not the spokesperson of the government, and I am not empowered to come and say things on behalf of the government. But what I know on that issue of monument is that the government gave it reason to be at least its security, and it's causing traffic jam, and they said they are going to take it to somewhere else. And I believe they will do so. And when you say it is carrying some signs, I believe the SSG too, during his last interview with the channel television, has clarified all that issues, and I will stand by it.
Right. Barrister, I think you're the right person to talk to, because you're the head of the Public Complaints Commission, and there is a public complaint on some of these activities that is happening in Kano. But
I just come in yesterday.
Right. But speaking of that, you were
and on the issue of money.
Let me get to the point. Let me get to the question, Barrister, if you don't mind. You were suspended by the State Assembly before your sack by the Ganduje administration earlier in January this year. You were just recently reinstated, and I think congratulations are in order. But the political face to this conversation is obviously the one that has dominated the conversation. This is something that has been premeditated even during the campaigns. There was back and forth between the APC-led administration of Abdullahi Ganduje and the NNPP leadership led by the former governor and former minister, Senator Rabi Musa Konkoso. How do you explain to people that the politics of this conversation has nothing to do with what is going on right now? Because the government is barely a month old, and there's just too much controversy that is overheating the polity in Kano, yours included.
Oh, my own I'm a living example for what the government is doing. Because, like you rightly said, I was unjustly suspended by the State Assembly just for the mere exercising my constitution.
Barrister, I did not say unjustly suspended.
You did not say unjustly is my word. You said I was suspended. Unjustly is my word. So, like, I was unjustly suspended, and this is the pronouncement of the court. And when you said it, you are right, because the court has already declared it. So this is the position of the law as far as the case is concerned. Now, secondly, I was summarily dismissed on 23rd January this year. And eventually, the National Industrial Court declared that all these actions were ultra-biased, null and void, and of no effect. And the government now aligned with the court. Remember, the previous administration, when we secured court order in Abuja, that is the Abuja Division of National Industrial Court, they refused to obey the court order. They refused to pay me the salary which the court asked them to pay. It is only through the garnishee proceedings that we were able to secure that money. So, just like in my own case, the engineer Abba Kabir Yusuf is restoring the rule of law in Kano. Like the issue of monument you are saying, the issue of monument is that I know the person that designed the monument because I had a cause to handle one of her cases, because even the previous administration decided to alter the monument during that time when she come and complained to the commission, and I intervened. Her name is Kaltime, and I believe she will bear me witness that I have intervened to save the monument prior to this time. But when this government said that they have a security report that this place is blinding the government house, and it's a security report that informed the decision to do that, I have no reason not to believe them. As far as I'm concerned, this government is in the permitted stage, and they are doing everything they could to make sure they put things in place and they put things in order, and I give them that as what they are doing.
Yeah, but you've not answered the question about the political shadow that is being casted on this whole situation. That is following this whole saga in Kano. There is a political angle to it.
You know, in everything there's political angle, I might say. And as far as I'm concerned, yes, whatever you are doing, some people will give it a political undertone. So I don't understand actually what you want me to say on this issue of political angle, but I know that as a government, the government has the mandate of the people to come and do what is necessary and to come and do what is right. And I believe the government is doing what is right for the people of Kano State.
Barrister, the question I want to ask you is one of a bit of curiosity. Let me take it that I am a Kano citizen, and I'm one of those people that have been affected. And I'm listening to the head of the Public Compliance Commission put up a very staunch defense in support of the government. If I have genuine case, I have papers to show that I've been justly and rightfully allocated the land, should I have confidence to come to your commission and hoping that this commission would intervene and give me justice?
Anybody that knows my antecedent knows that I stood against what is injustice, even against the government that employed me. I think that is what caused for my purported suspension and eventual dismissal. So, and anybody that knows he has genuine, but anybody that knows has genuine case, he can come forward to the Public Complaints and Anti-Corruption Commission. That's what it is. The commission is a combination of 3 agencies. I want you to know that. I will be talking to you from the aspect of anti-corruption agency now, because I had a cause to intervene to look into this case. Let me give you one example. I just had over your report that in the Katsina State, there's a herders and farmers clash because of the land allocated by the local government. I can vividly and authoritatively tell you that over 80% of grazing land in Kano were sold to individuals. This is the problem we are encountering now. And it is done by the people in authority. So can you come and tell me that because of the people that purchased that land, now the commission will not come and say this thing is wrong? No. We will say it is wrong, whosoever did it, even if it is the commission that did it. Even if it is me that did what is wrong, it's wrong.
So Barrister, just to be clear, is the commission neutral on this situation, or have you already taken a position based on your submission this morning?
The commission, as I told you, I'm just transcending from transition committee, which I happen to be part of the transition committee, and the secretary of the asset. I used to be the secretary of the asset recovery committee of the government of this incumbent government. So I just come in as.
Are you in charge of the Public Complaints Commission?
I am in charge of Public Complaints Commission from yesterday to today.
Okay, so is your commission neutral, yes or no, on this issue?
The commission will always be neutral, and the commission will.
Okay, and I suppose there's a difference between the commission and Barrister Mohammed.
In accordance with the law that establishes the commission.
But finally,
without fear or favor.
If I can get this question to you. And please, very briefly, if you can respond. The government has exposed itself to legal action, obviously. These people have legal documents given to them by the government, and they might likely go to court. And some people would say they do have a case to prosecute. And the government might have put the cart before the horse by not going to court to get an order to go ahead with this demolition. What do you have to say to that, especially if the people decide to band together and take the Kano State government to court for illegally demolishing their structures?
Let me tell you something. The government will not engage into this kind of activity without taking consideration of all the nooks, all the nitty-gritty of the case. Now, it may interest you to know that majority of the agreement, so-called agreement, was not done in accordance with the law and does not even bear anybody's signature. I'm not in a position to share it with you now. But I know that the government knows what they are doing, and they have put their house in order.
All right.
And they are expecting any eventuality.
Thank you very much, the brand new head of Kano State Anti-Corruption, because
restored.
he said yesterday, restored.
Right.
Brand new. I'm not sure if your tenure is a continuation of your previous tenure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for providing your perspective to this conversation. We will continue to engage the issue, and we hope that these actions are carried out in a manner that has a people's face, to it at the end of the day. Thank you very much for showing up in our studios, and we wish you all of the best of the day.